As the international break ends, thank the Lord for that, and Premier League football returns. This London derby kicks off the Premier League's weekend, and we take the trip to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where it's a game where if we win, we move above Tottenham in the table, which from our start would be pretty astounding. I'm not quite sure how we've got ourselves into that position. Both sides have had a changeable start to their season so far, and be looking to kickstart and really get settled down as we get in to the meat on the bones of the season. Welcome back to West Ham Official. Hope you are well. Opposition preview for Saturday's game. Sean, how are you?
I'm really good, mate. You right?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Now, before we get started, the last time that West Ham played Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, kicking off at 12:30, was when we beat you the first time there. What a beautiful day that was, wasn't it?
Was there fans there then or not?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, that was 2019, wasn't it? Yeah. First team to beat you, Antonio. Brilliant goal. Tottenham fans angry. Just the normal, isn't it?
Not memorable for me, mate. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember games like
that. Let's see who's joining us in the chat. Good evening, Michael. Hope you're well. If we beat Spurs, we go above them. We've had a crap start to the season. We certainly have. Hope you're well. Sharky, a member for 33 months. Well, that's a lot of months. Thank you very much indeed. I hope you are well. Sure, let's start with a quick discussion about Tottenham's season so far. So take us up to this point then. I said changeable in the intro. Is that fair?
I would say we've probably had the strangest season out of all 20 in the league. I think you can't predict us. We've probably played better football with the ball than most of the league, if not all of the league. We've had glaring faults which have cost us a lot of points. Worryingly, in the last game, it was probably a fault we didn't necessarily see coming. We've dominated every single football match we played. We've come unstuck mainly by maybe not creating the best chances, but also missing some simple chances. I think I'm right in saying I'm not big. I like stats in football. I'm not the biggest fan of the XG stat, but we have the highest XG out of any team in the league, above Liverpool, above Man City, above anyone. So that tells a story of probably the season up to the Brighton game. The Brighton game was always a game which everyone sort of looked at. Both teams play a high line. Both teams play a high press. So both teams like the possession. So when we completely and utterly dominated them for 45 minutes, they basically gave up their possession-based style for us. We had all the ball. Was it 2? Yeah, it must have been 2-0 at half-time. Probably could have been 3 or 4. That was a similar story to, say, the Newcastle game, definitely the Leicester game, Arsenal game to an extent, although they did defend very well against us. No one really seen the second half coming. I don't think Ange's seen the second half coming. We haven't folded under a bit of pressure. Like any team's going to have chances against us. We haven't folded to that extent. I think the manager was a little bit shell-shocked by it as well. We didn't see it coming. He didn't react to it. So yeah, it's been strange. I've said to you before, if you're a neutral, that you've watched a lot of Tottenham games in the Carabao Cup and the Europa League, and it's end to end. We can see chances. It's entertainment for the neutral. It just is. You're not going to get a boring game. The only boring game we've had, and this caught me by surprise, and I don't know if this weekend's going to be similar, was the Arsenal game, where they thought, right, they're good with the ball, we're going to let them have it. And at that point, we were struggling to create too many top chances. I think Ray made 2 or 3 saves he didn't really have to stretch for. And they were happy for us to let them have the ball and relied on a corner where we can be weak. That's the only poor game for the neutral we've had all season. So we're hard to read. We're unpredictable a little bit. We've got the potential to be very, very good. But we do have these... I thought it was just one weakness for a bit, but we do have these 1 or 2 little weaknesses, which can mean the game can go any way. That's just how our season's gone.
No, I think that's fair. And, Spurs have been electrifying at times. I mean, when I think of Spurs so far this season, I think of, the result up at Man United. But then I think I'll go back to the Leicester game where you folded a little bit, and then you've got the Brighton game, which I forgot about. You've got that game, and I've managed to sit through that Coventry game in the Carabao Cup because there was nothing else to do, and that was another anomaly. There was there's been some good things, and then some not so good things. I don't particularly like XG, but it illustrates the point in terms of Tottenham have been very good going forward. There's no doubt about that. They create chances, they generate chances. But I noticed last season in the 2 games we played against you and other games that I watched, it seems to just get a little bit repetitive in terms of we're going to do this, we're going to try and get it to the byline, cut it back and tap it in. And you did that once against us last year, and you tried it again and again and again, and it didn't work again. And it seemed a little bit predictable towards the end. And when you haven't got as good players there, you've lost Kane and all the rest of it, maybe that's just what's lacking a little bit, because I mean, any manager can look and know what Tottenham are going to do. It's going to be all out attack, and it's pretty one-dimensional. What it is there, I mean, Michael's asked it as well in the chat, is there any differentiation? Have you seen any adjustment or sort of alteration from Ange?
Definitely there. I think the question, are we all out attack? We are very much all out attack, and he won't probably differ from that. And that you might come on to it. That's probably something I'd like to see him change at times, and get game management is what I'd like to see him change. But going forward, he has mixed it up a little bit. He's trying to get that midfield 3 balanced a bit different. I don't know if you've noticed in Tottenham games, our best player has probably been Dejan Kulusevski, and he sort of moved in the middle alongside Maddison, who I think was probably unlucky not to get an England recall because he has started the season well. So he's moved him off the wing. So we've now got 2 more attacking midfielders in the midfield 3. Obviously, you pay the price for that because we don't necessarily have an out-and-out holding midfielder. We'll probably come on to it, but I think you'll probably play 2 in there on Saturday, and we won't play 1. Like, even if he plays Basuma, I wouldn't even say he's an out-and-out holder. Bentancur's been playing there; he's certainly not that. But yeah, we have, by moving to Kulusevski off the right wing where he's all left foot into the middle of the park, we've got an extra body who's very, very powerful running with the ball. He sort of glides by people and they bounce off him. He's been very, very good. So he's acted like a bit of a decoy. He can also play as a false 9 if we don't have a striker on the bench where he can run from deep. So Ange has changed it. And I think our attacking stats have gone up probably because of that. But also don't forget, I don't think Son's probably going to be fit, and he's been missing for the last 3-4 games in all competitions. So we're probably going to be a bit weaker than normal on the left wing. But yeah, he has tweaked. He has probably noticed me, even though we scored more goals last season and conceded less than Harry Kane's last season with us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So but he has tweaked it. Kulusevski's been very good in the centre of the park. Very good. Like I said, I know football's not a game where we should have done this, we should have more points. But we shouldn't have lost to Newcastle, and we shouldn't have lost to Leicester. We should have had at least a point in both of those, at least, very, very least. And let's be honest, without a pathetic folding, we shouldn't have lost to Brighton. So there's no way we should be on 3 defeats and a draw. We shouldn't be on that, but we are, and that's how it goes. You've got to put it to bed, and you've got to show a bit of bottle and maybe a better game management when the game's tight, and you've got to hang on for 10 minutes. But we do lack a bit.
I think that thing about Son is going to be music to most West Ham fans. So I've been to the Tottenham Stadium twice. I think Son's ran riot both times. I always think of Tottenham away, and I think, Son down the wing, we're going to get battered here, and that's the sense of it. I currently haven't got a ticket for Saturday. Dad's going, that's right, but I currently haven't got a ticket. Working on it, but yeah. So that would be an initial positive, or has he sort of regressed Son a little bit? Is he still the influence that he once was?
Son's the last couple of years. Son's been a fun, probably since Kane went. My memory's not the best. I'm trying to think if he was like this when Kane was there in the last year. But fans might have a little moan about him. Oh, he can't beat a man. His legs have gone. Then he'll come up. Then the next week he'll go and score 2 and assist 1, and he'll score another 2, and he'll end the season probably with 15-ish goals and 10 assists. Do you know what I mean? I don't really have a doubt about that. I'll be honest, I think we're in a world of, in general in football now, where there's just too much football. So sometimes you look at a player, maybe of a certain age, and you think, right, they play back-to-back 40-game season, 50-game seasons. They've then flown halfway around the world 10 times to play for South Korea. They've done the Asia Cup in January, come back. Try. When you look at like that, when you're in about 30, 31, I think it's natural it's going to catch up on you a little bit. We may have even seen that the last couple of years with Kevin De Bruyne, for example. Do you know what I mean? He's I think he's probably was one of the best midfielders in the world, but the last 2 years he's just struggling to get over knocks a little bit more, for an example. So whether he's in that category, when he got injured, my memory's not very good tonight, Jake. When he got injured, I think I wrote on Twitter, I said, just don't rush him back. It's probably, I mean, it's probably, he might need a month off, even if he's thinks he, because I read about 2 weeks ago and said he was eager to get back. I thought, just don't, it's not worth it. So sometimes maybe they need a little break, and that's probably what they're doing with De Bruyne. The other day he was on the bench one day in a game where they sort of struggling. I think it was against Fulham. I think it was. I don't think he's regressed. He'll end the season well, but I think you need to look after these players when they hit the early 30s. They can't just go on and have 1 month off a year at the very most. You know, some of these players, when they go to a World Cup and they have 2 weeks off and they're back in pre-season. It's
in pre-season.
Something's got to give, especially at a certain age. I mean, might even be burning out the youngsters doing that as well in the long run.
I think something is giving in terms of the quality that we're seeing with footballers, but that's a whole nother debate. Ken, hope you well. Defence versus defence is key for Saturday. High line versus new high line. Who is going to play in the best and win the transitions and get the defence out of shape? I'm really intrigued to see how Lopetegui goes about this. Now, the normal gang are going to join me for our normal preview tomorrow night, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth then in terms of, you know, team selection, in terms of West Ham in that sense, and how Lopetegui is going to approach this. But in a minute, we're going to talk a little bit about how these two teams are going to not sort of line up, but weigh up against each other, and how it's going to work. Because, of course, last year was interesting at your place. It was, you battered us. It could have been about 6-0 up inside 20 minutes. And then we scored 2. Well, I wouldn't say lucky. I would say lucky. Some fortunate goals. And we managed to hold on in that sense. So yeah, this game always throws up some weird and wonderful games. It's bizarre. Dan, I hope you well. I hope all is well with you, Jay, as well. Glad I'm in work most of next week. Don't have to put up with teenage aggro all week. That's not very nice, is it? That's so stereotypical. Horrible. Michael, on the England subject, do you think Tuchel will pick the same players? Now, we'll do that on the first roundup back after the international break. Talk about Tuchel, but I mean, there isn't too many others, is there? So it's going to be pretty similar. It's about the ethos and the style of play that he sort of instills in the side. But yeah, we'll see in that sense. So Sean, this game last year, I mean, it's not going to be too different in terms of us and in terms of you, I don't think. Obviously, we've got a lot of new players in there, but I think it was a 1-1 draw, and we beat you 2-1 last year. But I mean, I think you dominated both games, and we managed to get away with it with 4 points, which was rather surprising. Do you think, and you've referenced it already in terms of the Arsenal game, do you think it's going to be a problem in that sense? In terms of if we get one, park the bus, as it were, we could frustrate you.
I'm sure you'll frustrate us a bit. You've got 2 ways of playing, basically, and we've seen it already this season. You can do what Brighton did in the second half, but I'm not convinced you've got. I don't think you're good enough in possession to play that way, personally. Compared to last season, if you've got a different manager, I don't really buy into the people saying he hasn't worked out his best team yet. I think now, how many games are we in now? 9, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good enough answer anymore. I think he come in the pre-season. By the time you're 9th game in, you can't be tweaking it and trying to work it out. I think that's a bit of a cop-out excuse. So you can play the Brighton way in the second half, or you can probably go down the route of what Arsenal did, and probably a little bit what you did against Man City at home, where you were parked for a long, long time, and in the second half, I think you had 2 and 3 half-decent counter-attacks.
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying I'll be surprised if you don't play very similar to that Man City game and let us have the ball. I'll be very, very surprised if you try and fight fire with fire like Brighton did in the second half. But he's seen it can work, so maybe he will do that. And what I think, look, I watched some of the highlights back, and I think some of the changes the Brighton manager made, he pushed the players forward more. Everyone went up the field 10 yards. He brought in an extra forward. It was a gamble. He was 2-0 down, so it was a gamble. So you're certainly not going to do that from the start, because as soon as if we get behind you, then most teams are in trouble. So it might be a case of first 45, hang in there, try and counter, and then, like the Brighton game, probably to a lesser extent, try and grow into it from an attacking sense. Like you might try and stay in the game and bring on Somerville on the hour, sort of something like that.
Yeah.
I can see you playing both your two holders, the South Americans. I think they're both. Well, one's Mexican, isn't he? I think they'll both play. I think. I just don't see. I know he's chopped and changed him a little bit. If he plays one of them, I think he'll drop probably Souček in deeper next to him. I just can't see you playing any other way, and I can't even work out. Obviously, the results before the last international break, we had that Brighton game, which wounded Ange a lot. And in his quotes today, he said it's been killing him for a week, waiting to get back on the training field. You had a win against a poor side, and I think we've chatted about that game, and I don't think probably West Ham fans probably learned a lot from that win. So,
not really.
But will it lift the manager? Will it lift the players? Or so I don't really know. I don't really know who had the best result last time out when it comes to reference to this game. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. There's a stat for you. The last time we won back-to-back games at Spurs was 1966. Well, I mean, that was a good year, wasn't it? So potentially now it's time to rewrite that. I don't know. I doubt it.
Last time you won a trophy before that, Mickey Mouse.
There we go. As you getting that in there, didn't you? Yeah, brilliant. Right, we're not going to do this. Who would make your combined Spurs West Ham 11? Now, that's a bit of fun. We'd be all right doing that. So what I'm going to ask you instead, Sean, because this will get your mind churning, is I think we've had this conversation once or twice before. So if you were to take players out of the Spurs squad and you were to pick West Ham players to rebuild your squad with, who would you pick?
Okay, I'll do you want me to just give you like the 11, the players I put in my Tottenham 11?
Go
and
on, then.
This is not Ange, because he wouldn't agree with this at all. And you're going to be surprised at the first one, but I would go with your keeper just because I think he's a little bit of a safer bet in an all-round game. I'm a huge Vicario fan, shot stopping.
Yeah.
But he's got some kinks a little bit there. I don't know if you've seen his goal. You can see it versus Italy the other day. But and I would on this season's form, is Emerson still playing at left back?
Yeah.
On this, I don't know what he's playing like this year. Probably poor as well. But Udogie's he's not having his best season. He's just not. His few individual errors. So I take your keeper, Porro, Van de Ven, Romero, and Emerson. I would go.
Here we go then. Let's do this properly, shall we? Give me a second. Right. So here we go then. So we've got Areola in goal. Right. So you're going to take Emerson left back, Romero, fair enough. Van de Ven, fair enough. Okay. Right. We'll go Van de Ven. See, this is rather jazzy, isn't it? Van de Ven right back.
Porro
over Wan-Bissaka.
Easily. Do you want to know a little stat here?
Go on then.
Statistically, this season, Porro's the best right back in Europe.
Is he?
He is. And that's defensively and attacking. And Real Madrid have been linked this week, unfortunately.
When I've watched Spurs, I've never really noticed him do anything bad. I'll say that, I don't, notice Spurs played good or they played well today or whatever. I've never really noticed him do anything wrong.
He's a good defender. Probably not as good defensively as Wan-Bissaka, but not many are. But going forward, he could play on the right wing. I could put him in this team on the right wing this season on form if I wanted to. But yes, statistically, he's the best in Europe on many things.
This is where it gets a little bit tricky then. So the midfield three, you got to think about this.
I'm going to let you pick the deepest midfielder because I'm going to let you have him.
Yeah, all right, I'll go Alvarez.
Right, and Ange wouldn't agree with this. He doesn't want one as defensive as him. And I said at the beginning of the show, it's the strange season Tottenham have had that you could go above us if you win. So most shows were quite close in the league.
Yeah. But
in these next two, I couldn't look past the two Tottenham ones either. So
no, I wouldn't disagree.
Kulusevski, I would definitely have in there.
Christ, I've got to spell that now. What, in midfield?
Probably on the right of the two forward.
Right. Oh, I put him on the left, Bulls.
And
Right.
I know Paquette's a good player, but he hasn't been very good for you.
Oh, he's
either.
been awful. Yeah, he's been awful.
So if you're not having, if I'm not having Maddison, who would you put?
I'd probably put Souček, but I'll let you have another one if you let me have an attacker. Deal?
Okay, I'll have Maddison because I think
Maddison.
those two have been very good and they link up very strongly. I'm trying to think what attacker I'm going to let you have. Okay.
So am I.
Right. Up front, Solanke's been very good, so I want a Solanke.
Okay, we'll have Solanke. Yeah.
He has I think I tagged you in the video. I might have done. When we signed him, one of these sort of YouTubers sort of did a video that he was the perfect fit for us. The chances we create. He scored about 4 tap-ins. He works very, very hard. On the right of midfield, it's a funny player for us this season because people have absolutely slated him. It's bad, but he deleted his social media because of it. I still don't think he's involved in play enough, and probably not the best footballer in the world. But Brennan Johnson's he scored in the last 7 games for club and country consecutively. He's got a very good knack of arriving in the box at the right time. He started hitting shots, which I wouldn't thought he'd have the confidence to hit from further out and hitting the crossbar and things like that. He's a sort of player, 20 minutes into the game, you think, oh, he hasn't touched the ball.
Yeah.
And he'll arrive at the exact right time. He's brilliant on the offside trap. And you can't fault what he's done. He scored some very good goals. He's rescued us in some very tight games. But yeah, he's not the most involved footballer out there. But you can't fault what he's done. And because Son hasn't started the season great, and because he's been injured a month, and I can't dare put Timo Werner in there, I'll let you have the left winger.
Now here's a question for you: who do you reckon I'm going to put in?
I think you're either going to put Bowen, who hasn't been great either, on the left wing on his opposite side, or you might go for Somerville because he had one good game.
Oh, I'm gonna go a bit rogue and disagree with what Lopetegui would do, and I would put Somerville. Oh, if I could spell his name. Somerville has been our most promising attacker so far. Most have stated that he has been better. I think Somerville has been better in the time that he's had the Bowen, because I think Bowen has struggled quite badly. He scored a couple.
Yeah, that's why I've gone for. You can't fault what Johnson's done this season. Do you know what I mean? And I think last season, if you looked at his stats last season for his debut season as a player, it was about 21, 22. He had a good debut season as well, but you'd have to pick him on of your players that could go on the right side, and that's why, because the game's now. But I know I've gone for predominantly Tottenham players and only a couple of points in the league, but that just shows how well we've actually been playing. I mean, we have been playing well. I wouldn't say we haven't been playing well going forward if we haven't.
Yeah, look, Kudus has been okay. Bowen has scored a couple of goals, but has struggled to get in with it. At the time, I think it's probably similar to Johnson. The time that Somerville's had on the pitch, which has been very limited, he has been our most promising attacker. He's been quite harshly treated, and that's been sort of corroborated through the fan base in quite severe frustration through the start of the season. It's been one of my big frustrations with Lopetegui so far. Look, I think that's fair. We didn't have too many arguments there. Maybe. Look, I haven't seen too much of Porro, so I was thinking maybe Wan-Bissaka.
If I was going to give you one more, based on this season, I would take out Romero because he is not been in the best of forms. He fell asleep terribly against Brighton. He's rated as one of the best centre backs in the world, and he was. But he's another that's been linked to Real Madrid, and he's made comments about the links. You just never know what goes on. But the reason I wouldn't put one of your lot in, because Tadebo's only had 1 or 2 starts. He's another they've sort of nudged into the team slowly. So if you ask me this in 3-4 games time and Tadebo plays all these games, Romero's still making little errors, then I'd probably swap those two. But
Kilman's been excellent. So, you know, look.
But he plays does he play on the left side?
Well, don't bother me. That's right. For the purposes
if you're picking a left centre back in the Premier League, Van der Ven probably gets in most teams, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And yeah, look, so one player here or there or thereabouts. That's what we've gone with. It's slightly tilted towards Spurs, but I think that's probably reflected the start of the season that both sides have had. So you've got Areola, Emerson, Van der Ven, and then maybe Romero, maybe Kilman, Porro at right back, Alvarez, Maddison, and Kulusevski as a midfield three. Somerville. Some of you guys might go Bowen or Kudus as the one West Ham player, and there's Solanke and Johnson. There we go. That was quite a that was quite a good little exercise to do. I enjoyed that. Right, let's take some comments. Ronnie's in. Here he is. Hope you're well. Larry as well. Michael says head-to-head Spurs 11 wins, West Ham 8 wins, 5 draws. I wonder when that's from. How many games is that? So that's 11. So that's 20 odd games. I suppose that's it's good. It's a good few years there. That is what it is. As expected. Solanke and Johnson, we play in Bournemouth and Forest. Yeah, literally. It's crazy seeing them two there, to be fair. Finally made the well, not quite a jump to a big team, but sort of half jump to a big team. Would not have Romero. He's been awful this season. There we go. Romero always good for a card. Kilman putting there absolutely. Romero and Paqueta double is where your money needs to be Saturday, surely.
Yeah, I wouldn't be far off that.
But right, we'll go into some predictions and then some final thoughts. Sean, a prediction firstly.
Anything other than a reaction would be disastrous, to be honest. The manager, even if we lost, he's not under pressure from the board. I think we could finish mid-table, and I think he'd be there next season because of the age of the club, the age of the players we're signing. But you know what fans are like. You lose at home. You lose at home to a London rival. It won't go down well at all. So I think Andrew demand a reaction, a more all-round performance, attack, and sort of a bit of grit when we're under pressure, because the pressure will come. You will put us under pressure. That is obvious. You might even, if you have a 10-minute spell and that's enough, that might be enough, but the pressure will come. Is this score predictions or?
It is, yeah.
It'd be a really, 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 really terrible result to not win, put it that way. Mm-hmm. And that's nothing against West Ham. I just think you haven't been great, I don't think, and a reaction is essential. So I would probably go we'd win 3-1.
I think the reaction part of it is, is obvious after the sort of result that you've come off the back of, and I've had to dwell over for a good week and a half now, and I think it's probably reflected how we all want football back, because we're doing a preview on a Wednesday, so we all want it back. There's no doubt about that, and yeah, I mean Spurs have had a nightmare result and sort of manner of defeat to come into an international break on, which is far from ideal. So I'm expecting a response. You mentioned spells there, which is really interesting, because we've played our season in short, sharp spells, to be totally honest. And yeah, we'll have a 10 to 15 minute spell at some point in the second half, probably a goal down, that's what I expect. A goal down going into half time, and then on about the hour mark might bring Somerville on, and we'll have a little bit of a go at you, and there'll be a spell, and that's where we've got to capitalise and try and put you under pressure. I mean, from Lopetegui's point of view, the team talk's got to be put them under pressure, because they might crack. They've done it a couple of times so far this season. They did it in the last game. Brighton put them under pressure. It all got a bit much, and they were 2-0 up and lost 3-2 in the end. So that's got to be the starting point in terms of put them under pressure, and you never know in that sense. This game is really hard to predict. I was going to say 1-1, but loads of people have gone 1-1, so I'll be a bit different. I'll go for a narrow 2-1 victory, but 1-1, I'd take that, and that's probably would be my fair prediction. Tottenham 2, West Ham 1, says Ronnie, but Head says Tottenham 1, West Ham 2. We like you, Ronnie. We like you. 2-1 West Ham, says Larry. Sean?
It's a hard one to predict, but Tottenham are hard to predict. Like, question, we've done this for a few years now, and you've a question you normally ask me is there a player or anything you fear of West Ham, or who's the danger? The danger for Tottenham is Tottenham. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought you were
the
going to say
danger
that.
for Tottenham is Tottenham. Like, if we have a game where Werner has all our chances, do you know what I mean? If Udogie has one bounce off his fine, lands in Antonio's feet, do you know what I mean? That's Tottenham's danger. and it's not an arrogant thing to say, I think anything other than a win will be a really poor result. And well, a draw will be a really good result for you anyway. But for the sake how the last game panned out, I think anything other than a win of any sort, so I'd take a scruffy one, and do you know what I mean? But anything other than a win for Tottenham would be a poor result, and I think a draw, I think, would be a poor result for Tottenham. How our season's gone, because as I've sat here nearly every week, we should have won. Said a minute ago, we should have more points. We should have. That saying can't go on, keep going on. Do you know what I mean? I can't. We can't have 65% against you on Saturday, which we probably will. We can't have probably 16 chances on goal compared to 5, which we probably will, and then say we should have won. Do you know what I mean? That excuse does wear thin, and I'm an honest enough bloke to say that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to. Yeah. If we come on Monday or Sunday night and they're the match stats, and I say we should have won, I'll be getting bored of saying it myself, and it's not good enough anymore. You've got to win. If you dominate a game, if you dominate a football match, you have to win more than you don't, and we're not. It's as simple as that.
It's intriguing, and it will be. Of course, it's always entertaining in that sense, and we will see what happens. Well, what you will know, Sean, my feelings of it is, because I'll see you on Sunday or Monday, whenever it is that we do the roundup show, and because we're the first game on, if we lose, I might push this game back a bit. Sod the timings, I might push it back. I can't do it right at the start now. We will have a chat about this post-match on the roundup show. Sean, thank you very much indeed for joining me and giving us your insight on Tottenham as always. I'm not going to wish you good luck for the game, because I wouldn't really mean it. So have a great rest of your week and weekend, and I'll see you on the other side, where hopefully, it's not too bad.
Okay, mate. Enjoy the game.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for watching. Drop a like on the video and subscribe to West Ham Official. Join me, I think it's Larry, Nigel and Mike tomorrow night for our West Ham based preview. We'll go through team selections, midfield construction, that question that we keep talking about, and everything else. We'll see you tomorrow night. Until then, thanks Sean, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.
No worries,
cheers,
mate.
Sean. Thank you,
buddy.